Ever walk out of an interview and just go, then watch this video? Hey everybody, it's Chris Kelso with Unmanned Hiring Services, and I wanted to go into the interview consultation portion. As you can tell from my last two videos, I'm still wearing the same sweatshirt, so I did this all in the exact same night. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you all had a great holiday. So with the interview consultations, what I have found through so many interviews that I've done myself is that no matter how well I think I'm prepared for an interview, I tend to still end up nervous or anxious or confused. I've gone through so many interviews with so many different aerospace companies. I've gone through interviews with Verizon. I've gone through interviews with Apple. I've gone through interviews with financial firms and real estate brokerages and different UAV companies, and I've seen it all at this point. And some interviews I've really crushed, and other ones I feel like maybe it just wasn't a good interview. So I decided I wanted to put forth an interview service that people that maybe have never interviewed before could come through and get that prep that's probably needed, to be honest. A lot of people in the military don't have to interview for their jobs. They pass the test, they do some volunteer work, and then they get a promotion, and you know, there we go. So a lot of the transitioning military to the civilian private sector, and even some civilians just got lucky with their first civilian job, didn't really have to interview. And what I've come to find out is that a lot of those people interviewing need help. So what I do with my interview service is I call you up and I kind of coach you through how an interview is conducted, what you can expect. We go through some questions that you might not think you would ever get asked. And we kind of go through that whole process together first. I like to take you through a mock interview. Once I find out what jobs you're interested in or what companies you're interested in, I like to tailor my interview based on that job or from that company that you are trying to get to. And I can do that because I've probably already talked to those companies. So I like to tailor my interviews that way. And I like to ask you guys all those questions that you probably have prepared for. But what a lot of people don't prepare for is the follow-on questions to those initial ones. So, you know, you always get your basic questions of, you know, tell me about yourself and what's your best strength and what's your weakness and things like that. You know, you read it online. These are the questions people ask. But what people aren't prepared for usually is the follow-on questions based on the answers that you provide. And so that's something that I like to bring into my service. So we go through a mock interview first, and I record that interview. It's done over the phone, and I record it. And then what I do after that interview is done is I transcribe that interview, and I type it all up. So I have all the questions laid out. I have the responses to all the questions that I've asked you, and I type all that stuff out. And what I do is I go through that interview, I highlight the responses that I felt were good, and then I highlight all the responses that I felt were bad or weak or need, you know, were an area of concern that needs some work. And what I do is I take that and I formulate kind of a feedback document for you. So you get a document that states this is where you really nailed it, and this is where we have to work on some things. Okay? And I go over the phone then with you with a coaching session as a follow-up. And we go over that whole interview document based on the answers that you provided. And then I provide that to you so that you can study that material. Because I really think it's important for you to look at the questions that maybe you screwed up on or maybe you weren't as strong at, and you revise and kind of learn from those mistakes and go, oh yeah, you know what, I should have done better in this area, and yeah, I did freeze there, and I didn't say this right thing, or I could have had a better answer. And I want you to take the notes. I provide recommendations. I provide better answers to those questions. So we'll go through another interview, kind of simulating a follow-on phone call, but this time I like to do it face-to-face. So I'll do a FaceTime or I'll do some sort of video chat with you, because when you do a face-to-face interview, you really get to see how people think and you get to see their reactions to things, and that's really, really important in an interview, because when you get to a final interview, you're probably going to do a face-to-face. Why do I think that's more beneficial? Because if I just did another phone interview with you, all you had to do is just read your notes. You just go, oh, you know what? This is the answers Kelso told me to say, so I'm just going to read this, and you can't see me, so it's going to work out great. And that's why I love the face-to-face interview. You can't read the stuff. You're just going to have to be able to go through it, and hopefully you've studied that material, and hopefully you've learned from the first coaching session. So once we do that final mock interview, I will stay on the line with you essentially and do a feedback session right then and there about what I liked about your second interview and what I didn't like about that second interview. And then kind of give you, a secondary coaching session, if you will, or a finalized coaching session. And then hopefully after those 2 coaching sessions and the notes and the feedback, you'll be more prepared to go into your real interview with whatever company that is and feel a lot more confident about it and a lot better about it, because those questions that those other companies are going to ask you are probably pretty similar or close to what I asked you, and it's just going to make a big difference. And I've done a couple trial subjects with this. From what I've gathered as far as data in the last few weeks of doing this, my final interview with my clients has been so much better than the first interview. So I have seen a dramatic increase in the composure and the poise and the ability to respond to questions really well. And this even includes salary negotiations, which is a really tough one for people. Anytime you ask somebody what's your desired salary, or what do you hope to make out of this job, or something like that, and then they give you an answer and you push back just a little bit, there is always a barrier that people have a tough time getting through, because people don't like to talk about money. It's just an uncomfortable subject. So I've seen a lot of really good increases in that second interview, and that's why I offer those services. And I think they're worth it, because if you can get the salary that you want and you can get the job that you want because you nailed your interview, I just think it's really a good service that people can benefit from in this community. And even if you're not an aircrew or UAV person, I think you can still benefit from that interview service, because everybody out there interviews for any job. So anyway, I hope you check it out. And if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to shoot me a message. And this is Chris Kelso signing off. Cheers. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my video. Please click like and share down below, and my unmannedhiringservices.com website is also listed in the description if you want to check that out. I love the interview services that I do. It's the best part of my job, for the hiring side anyway. And even if you're not aircrew, you can still benefit from it, I'm sure of it. So thank you everybody. Cheers.